I can tell you people, they were the devil's children. Bonnie and Clyde began their evil doing.
Good afternoon from Mickey and from me this bright and beautiful afternoon. We're having a wonderful Indian summer in England. Well, certainly where I am, down on the south coast. And it's just magnificent. You couldn't have more beautiful weather if you tried. And it's just as well because it's going to provide the perfect antidote to the continuance of my critique on the epilogue of Funding Freedom and Finding Freebies. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I'm actually quite committed to doing this, despite finding the whole exercise extremely distasteful. Of course, one then tries to make light of the whole thing and try to enjoy it as much as possible. But underneath it all, the whole thing is supremely distasteful. But several readers have made the comment that it is an invaluable statement in time as to the fabrications, untruths, misremembrances, bald lies, manipulation, calculation, flagrant exploitation, and many more things that one could say about this deeply disturbing book and the deeply disturbing conduct that has caused this book to be written and that has caused the contents of this book to be as odious and odoriferous as they really are. So, without further ado, since we have a lot of ground to cover, and I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to cover the whole of the remainder of it, because some of the stuff is so needing to be examined and explained that I would prefer not to rush through things, because sometimes haste makes waste. So without further ado, number one. Though public appearances for the Sussexes remained virtually nil, but not their PR, you know, which was 2, 3, and 4 times a week, grabbing attention whether they were appearing in public or not, their work commitments continued to grow. Aha! Announcements came in thick and fast. There we go. Finally, the admission that they're still grabbing for attention. But of course, it's with their work commitments. You know, who ever heard of anybody else having the temerity to say, oh, I'm making a shed load of money and I'm going to announce it all to you. Or I'm not making a shed load of money. I'm going to pretend I'm making a shed load of money. And I'm going to announce each and every meander as I try to get richer and richer. Tacky. With the pair signing on with the Harry Walker Speaking Agency, which also represents the Obamas and Clintons. Well, we now know to what extent the Obamas and the Clintons have clung to Harry and Meghan. Mickey, it's like Pontius Pilate. I wash my hands. They took on a number of speaking appearances, did they? I don't think we've seen that many. Including Meghan interviewing the editor of the non-profit news organisation, the 19th, and the couple joining forces with Time magazine to interview and moderate panelists for a special edition of their Time 100 Talks event about building kinder digital spaces. If I recall correctly, it was a bold attempt at censorship, as well as also releasing a video celebrating change makers and encouraging people to vote in the 2020 election. Well, there we have it. They're not supposed to be encouraging people to vote. They're supposed to be apolitical. That's what royals are. Have Meghan and Harry taken any credit for the fact that Afghans are being slaughtered left, right and centre as I speak? I don't think so. Then he continues, as the couple continue to build their financial independence. There we have it. All these charitable acts, all these donations that are going to charity. How does that work with building their financial independence? But this chapter is written with the anomaly of Meghan and Harry scratching around, she with her chicken feet and he with his chicken mentality, scratching around in the backyard trying to come up with something to eat, or as the Jamaicans would say, chicken going yam. I tell you. Meghan shared news of their investment in a 4-person company that makes instant oat milk lattes. I mean, the triviality. These people are so unaccomplished. They have accomplished so little in real terms, despite their constant announcing of every little triviality that they do. And here we have it. He's listing everything they have done, everything they have achieved, everything that has been reported upon. And he's coming up with maybe 4 or 5 things in a year. I tell you. Here we go now. She invested an undisclosed sum in December. Having the Duchess as a mentor and an advisor has been amazing, said the CEO. She's so smart, so passionate, and she has such a good heart. Oh, Nikki, please get the Stradivarius. It's time for Motti to do her imitation of David Oistrakh. Crikey. You couldn't make this up, I tell you. This is a comedy. She continues, this wonderfully grateful person, and she should be grateful because Meghan put her little operation on the map for all of 15 seconds. Of course, nobody really remembers the map and her name, but everybody remembers that Meghan did something. Having her as an advisor has been one of the most incredible things to come out of all of this. I tell you, Goebbels could have been taught a thing or two by his fellow Aryan amid scabies. They then go on to say about their contributions. And he lists the handful of companies that they have been in business talks with, the contributions. They're giving their time for charity and getting paid for it. How does that work? Harry is the Chief Impact Officer with the coaching and mental health firm BetterUp, which I think we've already been quite familiar with. Big announcement, big PR, nothing else. Because remember, Harry and Meghan got pregnant right after Meghan miscarried. And now Harry and Meghan are on 5 months maternity leave. both of them on maternity leave, or are those things that he's juggling indicative of the fact that we should be saying paternity as well? Here we go. Through the non-profit work of their Archewell Foundation. This is one of the many indications that Archewell is not the non-profit organisation that Meghan and Harry have claimed it is, because amid scabies and Caroline Durand, if she really has much of a part to play in this, they are insisting that a lot of Archewell is not a non-profit, that it is a money-making enterprise, which of course it is. Though the non-profit work of their Archewell Foundation sits at the heart, they all have so much heart, of the Sussex's growing legacy. Legacy. Well, I know people who have a legacy that's dubious as well, but I'm not going to mention anything about my Uncle Adolf or my Uncle Joseph or indeed my great Uncle Mao or other people who also have legacies. Ridiculous. The interest in their brand within the entertainment world continues to grow. Well, it doesn't, does it? It continued to grow at first because people believed that Harry and Meghan were actually going to be respectable. Now that they've discovered that they are anything but respectable, their brand has tanked. It hasn't grown. And all these deals that Scabies mentions are pie in the sky because, this one Spotify appearance, Netflix this, X that, chicken feed relative to the sums that are being mentioned. Now we get to a bold admission of profitability. An audio division for Archewell was also announced in December 2020, when the couple shared details of an exclusive contract with Spotify to create podcasts. As a preview of what to expect from a fully fledged Archewell audio series, the couple dropped a holiday special featuring guest contributions from Elton John, Stacey Abrams, Deepak Chopra and Tyler Perry. The episode honoured individuals who had been experiencing uncertainty and loss during the pandemic and quickly reached blah, blah, blah. Utter nonsense. It's a money maker. It's a money spinner. How is it anything but a money spinner? And whose pockets are these dollars going into? But the biggest surprise was Archie making his broadcast debut and at-home recording. "After me, ready, happy," said Harry to his son, who then said happy on cue, trained just like that dog. Remember the dog? I have stone statues downstairs that are more liquid and fluid and move more readily than that poor dog moved. The couple continued by saying, "New?" To which Archie said, "New? Yeah," completing the phrase all on his own. Well, of course he would. He's very special. Remember, his very first word was anti-disestablishmentarianism, and his second word was onomatopoeia, and his third word was alliteration, and his first word like the other first word was Grandma Diana. We have another admission of profitability. Within the Archewell non-profit arm, the implication is clear. If there's a non-profit arm, there's a profit arm. Do you see why it's important to actually look at what is written and actually analyze it? The devil is always in the detail, and the detail is always the devil when you have things to hide. Within the Archewell non-profit arm, there has been a heavy focus on the fight against misinformation and online hate. I think you and I know that as censorship. Something the couple tackled by joining civil rights groups behind the Stop Hateful Profit campaign in June 2020. Stop Hateful Profits is not an anodyne organization. It is a somewhat malignant organization. Let's just remember that little one. Next section. In the year following their decision to step back from their royal duties, the couple has pursued a number of legal battles, all settled or won, against sections of the British press. The most notable win came in February 21, when Meghan was awarded a double victory at London's High Court in her privacy case against the Mail on Sunday and Mail Online. Lord Justice Warby ruled. Well, he wasn't Lord Justice Warby. He is now Lord Justice Warby, dare Amid. He, in those days, itch, itch, scratch, scratch, was Mr. Justice Warby. Mr. Justice Warby is the one who made the ruling. He then became, having joined the Court of Appeal, Lord Justice Warby. You can't even get the man's rank right. I mean, you talk about being a journalist. Ugh, pathetic. Lord Justice Warby, who wasn't yet Lord Justice Warby, ruled that the newspaper had breached Meghan's privacy by publishing extracts from a letter she sent to her estranged father, Thomas Markle, as well as infringed her copyright. The paper was ordered to pay out $625,000 towards legal costs and substantial damages, as well as publish a front-page apology. Now, you know, propagandists are very good at choosing elements of the truth to tell a lie. Joseph Goebbels perfected the art, and it has been burnished by his fellow practitioner Amid Scabies, because that is true insofar as it goes, but it's a lie. Because, as we all know, or ought to know by now, and Mr. Scabies just ignores the fact that a healthy proportion of people all over the world will know that this is a lie, he still brazenly tells it. There has been an appeal. The appeal was granted. No front page apology was given. The appeal trundles through the courts, and there is every possibility that Mr. Justice Warby would not have made the ruling he did had Meghan and Harry broadcast their operatic Oprah-dom a few weeks later. Had they done it a few weeks earlier, Mr. Justice Warby might well have taken a completely different view of matters. And one of the arguable matters, Mr. Scabies and Miss Durand, is that it is very possible that Meghan wrote that letter to entrap her father. And therefore, she is entitled to no real privacy, which in fact she had already violated by getting 5 of her friends to remark on its existence and its contents to People magazine. Now, Mr. Justice Warby made his ruling when he was under the impression that Meghan was a decent and honourable and trustworthy person and a reliable witness. A few weeks later, she throws the whole royal family under the bus, ravishes their privacy in a way that nobody has ever ravished hers, comes up with a whole load of lies, half-truths, fabrications, inventions, post-factual remembrances, and nonsense, which, of course, with her own mouth, she has destroyed her credibility. Credibility counts when you are a witness. Your personal conduct counts when you are a witness. You are a witness whether you are a defendant or a claimant. Let's see how it pans out. Let's see how it pans out. Because they wouldn't have granted the appeal if there wasn't a very good, arguable case for the fact that Meghan Markle is a deceptive, disingenuous, manipulative, attention-seeking drama queen who is happy to violate her own and everybody else's privacy, including her father's, and not only his privacy, his right to be left alone. Now we get on to the bullying allegations. Because, of course, Amit Scabies blames the royal family and, or as he would like to put it, the royal families are men in grey suits. No, they're not doing anything that the royal family doesn't approve of. The Queen is the boss of the organisation and they don't do things behind her back without her knowledge or permission. So when Harry and Meghan speak about the palace, and as does Amit Scabies and Ms. Durand, and they're trying to hive off the Queen separately from the courtiers and indeed lumping William and Charles in with the courtiers. That's not how it works. I know it to be a fact, and I hope you will have enough sense to figure out that it is obvious that the Queen would know what is going on. Though the Duchess was used to defamatory reports, this front-page story was more worrying. Mickey helped Motty. She's grief-stricken on behalf of Megsy baby. The newspaper had been provided leaked emails from an unnamed source, someone who would have only had access to this information if they worked for the royal family. Of course it would. They were the royal family's advisors. Emails from October 2018 documented concerns from the Sussex's then communications director Jason Knopf, who now runs, wait for the boot, William and Kate's Royal Foundation, to Simon Case, the Kensington Palace private secretary. Actually, there's no such thing as the Kensington Palace private secretary. William and Catherine have a private secretary. So do the Gloucesters, so do the Kents, all the Kents, all three lots of the Kents. So there's no such thing as a Kensington Palace private secretary. So again, imprecision to really divert you from the facts. Quotes, I am very concerned. The Duchess was able to bully 2 PAs out of the household in the past year. This is Knopf speaking. The treatment of, and the name was redacted, I know who it is, but I'm not going to say, was totally unacceptable. Jason's October 18 email read, it certainly was. The Duchess seems intent, and here we have it. And let me tell you something. I've seen people with Meghan's personality type in action, including my mother. They always need to have a target, and they always need to have a victim. They always need to have someone in their sights. Blood suckers need to suck blood. The Duchess seems intent on always having someone in her sights. She is bullying, name redacted, and seeking to undermine her confidence. We have had report after report from people who have witnessed unacceptable behaviour towards, name redacted. For Harry and Meghan, this is now amid scabies, who I suspect might even in a previous life been called Meghan Markle. The attempt to discredit the Duchess by those that who were once part, this doesn't make sense, but I'm reading it accurately, that who were once part of the couple's inner palace circle served as another reminder that they had made the right decision to leave. Yeah, they made the right decision to leave, but not for the reason Amit Scabies is saying. Because they had been booted out of Kensington Palace because of their grossly bad behaviour, because they were bullying staff. That's why they were booted out of Kensington Palace. And Meghan, my understanding is, was absolutely furious to be given Frogmore Cottage. I mean, it was good enough for Grand Duchess Xenia, but it's not good enough for little Miss Nonentity from nowhere, who's all of a sudden arrived on the scene and decided that she is hot cheese. She wanted Frogmore House. Well, just goes to show sometimes greedy chokes puppy. Now we get to propaganda. Some aides had accused Meghan of being difficult or demanding in the past. They certainly had. Beulah, peel me a grape. You call this dress pressed? You call it pressed? This is pressed. Discarded. Like Trevor Engelson and Thomas Markle, just discarded, as it ought to be, because it's not up to her high standards. Neither was her husband, who was no longer good enough for her and was an embarrassment, nor was her father, who literally bankrupted himself on her behalf. No, not good enough. Nor was the pressed dress, because it wasn't up to her high standards. Curiously, here we get the boot. Sources confirmed that upon discovery of Jason's email, 2 of the individuals mentioned in the email asked for any allegations made to HR about their experiences with Meghan to be rescinded. That has been misinterpreted by the press and by the public to make out that the bullying allegations against Meghan have been rebutted, rescinded, or dropped. They haven't been. The individuals who asked for their complaints to be rescinded did so because they wanted to retain their status of employability after being at the palace. And they knew that they stood a good chance in 2018 of having their records sullied if it got out that they had made accusations against a working member of the royal family for such a serious offence. It is a serious offence. You can rest assured the victims of the bullying are being interviewed and the whole process proceeds. Don't believe this lie, and don't believe the fact that it's going to magically disappear and amid scabies and Meghan Markle are going to magic it away with all sorts of alternative variations on the facts. They're not going to be able to do so. He then makes a rather bizarre assertion. Meghan, said her lawyers, was, quote unquote, saddened by this latest attack on her character, particularly as someone who has been the target of bullying herself and is deeply committed to supporting those who have experienced pain and trauma. Saint Meghan, here we come. Oh, Nikki, can you please put a call through to the Apostolic Pronuncio for Motti and tell His Excellency that I would like the Pope to nominate Meghan for beatification before she dies. Say I do this as the niece of a nun, the great niece of an archbishop, and a faithful Catholic. And I don't think we should wait. We should make a special case for a special person like Meghan. I don't think we should wait for her to die. I think she should be beatified while she is alive. And maybe she can even be made a saint while she is alive. And maybe if her ambitions get to proceed a little bit further, maybe she can even revert, because let's remember the Pope is also the Pontifex Maximus. And the Pontifex Maximus is an ancient Roman title. He was sort of the maximum pontiff for heathen religions. So I think maybe he can do what the Pontifex Maximus used to do in the ancient Roman Empire and make Meghan a goddess. No, I think that's what we should do. Don't you think? We should be aiming to make Meghan a goddess. That's what she deserves. Nothing else. She deserves to be made a goddess because she is already so special that she is far out of the categorization of human being, whether ordinary or extraordinary. I think we should be acknowledging those facts. he goes on about the fact that there's no doubt about it, the people inside the institution who gave it, the story of Meghan's bullying, to the Times, gave it to the reporter with that intention, in other words, to expose Meghan. They didn't hide that fact. It was without doubt done intentionally to discredit the Duchess. The couple's close friend and actress, Janina Javankar, whoever she is, I've never heard of her before. How come they are scraping the bottom of the barrel? Where's Hillary in all of this? Where's Michelle? Where's Barack? I mean, come on, guys. The best you can do is Janina Javankar? I mean, come on. Where are all of her special friends? Where's Joe? Where's Kamala? She certainly tried enough to get you guys elected. Surely you can reward her. I mean, come on. You know, Meghan's reputation is far more important than all those people in Afghanistan. I don't think you should be focusing on trivialities like the deaths of hundreds of thousands, possibly, and the freedoms of millions. I think you should be focusing on what really counts. Making sure that Meghan's reputation is cleaned up and polished brightly. Scabies now comes up with what I would say is an outright lie. He says that after the news of Prince Philip's health came out, and now quoting, there were conversations with Harpo Productions about ensuring that the broadcast would be postponed if things were to worsen. A source explained. Not true. Not true. There was no such conversation. They were desperate. Oprah, Harry, and Meghan were desperate to get it broadcast before Prince Philip died. In the certain knowledge that he was dying. I knew he was dying. They knew he was dying. Everybody who had any information at all knew that Prince Philip was dying. They had taken this decision that they were going to bring it out, and they didn't care that they were damaging the last days of Prince Philip's life and creating a huge problem for the Queen and for the Prince of Wales and for Prince William and for the rest of the royal family, all of whom were disconsolate about the fact that Prince Philip was dying. They didn't care. The decision was taken that only if he died would they pull it to rebroadcast it at a later date. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Prince Philip died shortly afterwards. Look at the photographs of Prince Philip leaving the hospital. Look at him. He is like the walking dead. The lies, I mean, a brazen, disgusting lie. You know, do they think they can magic away the fact that this act of treachery took place while his supposedly beloved grandson was dying, and that they continued with the whole operation even though they knew he was dying, and they didn't care? None of them cared. None of them. He now tries to link the Oprah interview and liken it to Prince Charles's interview with Dimbleby and Diana's interview with Martin Bashir. Wait for it. I'm going to pick it up in the middle of a sentence. On the couple's decision to talk, there was some precedent from within the family, set famously by Charles, who sat down with Jonathan Dimbleby in 1994. May I make at this point the point that much of that interview was about Prince Charles's work, and that Jonathan Dimbleby asked him a question as a result of Diana's treachery in having got Andrew Morton and in having tried to get me to destroy her husband's reputation so that she could obtain a separation and a divorce. Let's put things in their proper context. And by then, everybody knew, because my book, Diana in Private, The Princess Nobody Knows, which was a New York Times and London Times bestseller, and Andrew Morton's ditto, which came out several months after mine, had both made the fact clear that the marriage was over. I made clear, Andrew Morton didn't make clear that she had lovers, but he certainly made clear that Charles had a lover. So, put it in its context. It was the answer to one question in an interview that was covering the man's work upon, and he by then was middle-aged. So I will continue. Princess Diana's follow-up with BBC Panorama, where she famously uttered the words, "Well, there were three of us in this marriage." And more recently, Prince Andrew's disastrous 2019 interview with BBC's Newsnight about his ties, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to stoop to repeating that bit of invidiousness. It's completely unsavory, and I don't want to be defiled by repeating any more about that. Beyond saying, how is Harry and Meghan's Oprah interview in any way bears the slightest resemblance to Martin Bashir tricking Diana into an interview that she lived to regret? Yes, she most likely would have given another interview to someone else. Yes, she did it because she wanted her liberty, and she was quite determined to force the issue because the royal family wanted Charles and Diana, and Charles himself wanted them to remain married, separated but married. Yes, you could say that her bitterness is somehow replicated by their bitterness. But I am afraid it doesn't wash, because Meghan has been trying to create links between herself and Diana and parallels and make duplications and replications where they do not exist. Meghan has and has had no justifiable grouse. Diana had a somewhat justifiable grouse, although she, in my opinion, carried an equal part of the burden for the failure of that marriage. And she certainly was sufficiently worldly and sophisticated and aristocratic to know that men have mistresses when their marriages are over, as indeed do women, as indeed did she. And although Charles settled down to one mistress, Diana had a series of lovers. It's all there for everybody to see if they wish to see. So no parallels. Meghan and Harry aren't unhappily married, or if they are, they certainly weren't and certainly aren't complaining about that. They have no complaints about anything that is valid. And Diana was very careful not to complain about the royal institution, but to limit her complaints to her marriage. Let's remember that. Prince Andrew, well, excuse me, what does Prince Andrew's interview with Emily Maitlis have to do with any of this? Prince Andrew has been accused, whether justly or unjustly is open to question, and until it is decided by proper due process under English and American law, you are innocent until proven guilty. And this has been hanging over his head for some years now. He gave a very ill-advised, I would say stupid interview. But who was accusing Meghan and Harry of anything that could possibly be likened to the accusations made against Prince Andrew? I mean, you talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. You know, it's as if these people can have absolutely nothing corresponds, nothing is proportionate, nothing is properly linked, nothing has synchronicity. It is all just bizarre ramblings. We now get on to some wonderful victim seeking, because here we have that the couple felt unsupported by the institution of the monarchy. Nobody expected what would come less than 30 minutes into the 2-hour CBS special. So, because they felt unsupported by the institution, they were going to trash the institution. Well, that's certainly valid victimhood, isn't it? Really valid, absolutely valid victimhood. I mean, you couldn't make this up. Then he gets into the nonsense about with tears in her eyes. No, there weren't tears in her eyes. There were no tears in her eyes. She was faking the crying the way I'm faking the crying. And I gather from people that I do it quite well. Thank you very much. I'm very flattered to hear it. I was just taking the mickey. But if I do it well, good. With tears in her eyes. Meghan recounted to Oprah a conversation that took place with Harry and the family about concerns over how dark Archie's skin might be when he was born. That's a lie. If you look at the Oprah interview, you can see that is a lie. Harry says it was a conversation with him before the marriage. Meghan says there were several conversations involving Harry after the marriage. At no stage does she say that it had anything directly to do with her. Listen to what she said. I just make that point for what it's worth. I make it for what it's worth. It's a lie, it's an outright lie, and they have the memories of newts. But those of us who don't and who actually can add up 2 and 2 aren't going to get 22 from 2 and 2. Also, I will make the point again, and thousands of people of colour have made the point to me. It is a perfectly natural thing to speculate upon what a baby is going to look like, and if it is a mixed race baby, including what its complexion is going to be. There's nothing ominous about it. Jeremy Clarkson has recently waded in and made the point that it is quite possibly not a member of the family who said anything. Other people have made the point that Harry himself is on record as having said he wanted his children to be darker so that they wouldn't be as pasty-skinned as he was. Harry said that. And my information is that no member of the royal family actually made the remark that they have stated was made the way they have stated it was made. They are seeking victimhood. They better be careful what they seek, because they may achieve it, and they won't like it once they get their just deserts. If either of them had sufficient education, and although she's been to good university, one wonders at the level of education she's had, and he certainly had none, they'd know about answered prayers. Maybe nowadays in universities they don't teach in literature about literature. Maybe all they teach about is latter-day 20th century prejudicial nonsense. But in my day, in literature, you were taught literature. The whole thing is so disgusting, I cannot tell you. While a source said that the couple had considered sharing this detail, they decided not to. The identity of the supposed racist within the royal family. I think that would be very damaging to them, Meghan said. So what does she do? She makes sure she spreads the damage, as does Harry, amongst all the family. So they're all in the line of fire. There's speculation that it could be any one of them except the Queen or Prince Philip. That's consideration. I tell you, if that's consideration, give me thoughtlessness. This is a calculated ploy by Meghan to use the race card in a racially provocative and disgusting way. And you know what I've been told about Meghan and Harry's relationship? That from the word go, she has been manipulating and pulling the strings on that idiot, that puppet, with dropping a bit of poison herb and the Queen won't give me the imperial state crown. It's because she's racist. Parliament won't make me the Empress of the world. That's because they're racist. She has been evidently playing the race card from the word go. And she's very good at playing the race card because she knows she's never been subjected to racism. Her father has confirmed it. Gigi Perot, her teacher at school, confirmed it. Of her teachers, all of the other teachers who were spoken to have confirmed it. All of them. Meghan has never been guilty of anything but playing the race card to her own advantage. She has never been a victim of racism. Never. She is victimizing the royal family using race. That is racism. It's also beyond low. We now come to a rather interesting thing. Meghan also shared her worries that Archie was not styled in royal terminology in the way of other royal children with the title of prince because of his race. That again was a total lie, a total and complete lie. Meghan knew. She said it in the interview about George V's 1917 ruling. If she knew about it, there is no foundation for having had this expectation or hope. She was lying then, and she has been lying since then. It is a lie, it is a lie, it is a lie, it is a disgusting and mischievous lie. The woman is a total liar, a mischief maker. She has used race in the most racially provocative and destructive way. And I, as a Jamaican, find it deeply offensive that anybody could come into as inclusive and racially open a society as this and try to bring her racial divisions with her. I think the woman is a total, complete and utter disgrace. I also think she is a racist. I think that is racism. I think when somebody uses their colour to get an advantage from other people, they are using racist tactics. If she thinks I am defaming her, sue me. Sue me. I will defend it in an open court, and let's see who is going to win. Absolutely unbelievable. We now come to really something that's a bit of a hoot. Since the interview, Palace aides were actually instructed to brief the press that the couple did not want a title for Archie. Not since the interview, Mr. Scabies. Harry and Meghan made that announcement themselves when the child was born. You are trying to reconcile one lie with another. It's not true. In reality, the couple did want the option, given that it would provide their son with a level of security that only comes with a title. Well, the child, as all children who are the legitimate progeny of a duke, every child that is legitimate progeny of a duke, or indeed adopted progeny of a duke, is allowed to use a title. This lord if it's a boy and lady if it's a girl. So it's rubbish. Only illegitimate children are not allowed to have a title. So that is rubbish right there. What is also rubbish is the fact that if you have princely rank, that you automatically have security. That is also another lie. Don't take my word for it. Ask the York girls. Ask the Duke and Duchess of Kent. Ask Prince and Princess Michael of Kent. Ask the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Ask Princess Alexandra. I hope I have made my point. It is absolute flagrant rubbish. Then we hear that for Meghan, sitting with Oprah felt cathartic. This comes from Meghan herself. As a friend described of the experience. Whenever you have friend, and often source, you know, well, especially friend, you know who you're speaking about. All the things she had kept to herself or been too afraid to say as a working member of the royal family, she felt safe to finally share. It was liberating. You know what's really rather interesting about the presentation of Meghan Markle as done by Amit Scabies and Caroline Durrant and Meghan Markle herself? There's this dominating, potent, powerful, empowered, independent, feminist, and then right beside it is this meek, mild, delicate little flower that's so terrifying. Not squeak. And my feelings are so delicate. I can't utter madness. Is she the gutless, oversensitive, ridiculous 4-year-old that she and they portray her as being at times? Or is she the Boadicea creature that she lays claim to at other times? Or, I would respectfully submit, does she play both cards as and when it suits her? And that, I think, is getting to the heart of the matter. I think that is getting to the heart of the matter, because what we are dealing with is an accomplished actress who will use any tool at her disposal to achieve her objective, whether it is weakness or strength. And I don't for a second believe that that crocodile with the hide of a rhinoceros and the feet of a chicken has one delicate or sensitive bone in her body. I think, yes, she absolutely loathes criticism. Yes, it enrages her that people do not take her at her estimate, overblown as it is of herself. But delicate and sensitive? Tell that to somebody as the crocodile is grasping their arm and rolling them over in a death roll. I don't think they will agree with you. Also, I think at this point, I should actually make the point that there's a reason why Meghan didn't reveal all that she revealed to Oprah. She couldn't have revealed it while she was within the royal family, because she needed to have enough time alone with Harry. And she needed to lay the ground and prepare Harry for the coup de grace that she was going to issue. And it wasn't going to be possible to do it surrounded by his family and friends. That's why Harry has needed to be plucked out of his environment and placed in hers as they have pursued a private life in public. I think at this point I should call quits on this. I think we have one more session to go because there's some other important stuff that I have picked up in the book that I would like to cover, because I think these people need to be exposed for what they are, which is mischievous, race-baiting ingrates of the highest order. I think they are mischievous. I think they are destructive. I think they are a complete disgrace. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. If you have enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell. Keep the questions coming in, because definitely the next time is the last time. But I do agree with people who have said that I should nail down all of these post-factual remembrances and all of the untrue claims. Otherwise, there is the danger that Harry and Meghan will bury people under the mud of their untrue and fabricated claims. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.